This is Trophy, the Scoundrel's Quarter, Part 17. We are in the middle of Blackberry Jam, a Trophy Dark incursion. We have 4 children. 3 of them are player character berry pickers. And we are on Ring 5. As the berry pickers are sucked down into the viscous sap, it fills their mouth, eyes, and ears, making their lungs burn for air. They finally pass through a gelatinous portal and fall heavily onto saturated, sticky ground at the Bramble's heart. Above them, the quivering membrane drips the sweet blackberry juice. Across the clearing, they see a small round basin atop a pedestal. Next to it, a woman sits, tired hands scrubbing away the drops that fall incessantly upon her. She is clad in grimy robes with an odd iron sword stuck in the earth next to her. Like everything here, it is covered in the sap that trickles from the heart above. She dips a dirty rag into the basin of water. It emerges clean, and the water remains crystal clear. Within seconds, the rag is smeared again with juice. Next to the woman grows a blackberry topiary, twisted into the form of a young boy crying out in anguish. His eyes look up as his foot is anchored to the ground by a blackberry cane. Succulent blackberries hang off him like bleeding sores. A single, unripe carnelian berry grows in his outstretched hand. The robed woman scours her worn hands with the rag. As she does, she grumbles about how the berry pickers are filthy and need to clean themselves in the fountain. And perhaps inside their own heads, they hear a soft plea for freedom. A wind stirs within the glade and rustles the leaves of the boy in the bush. This bramble is cursed. Don't listen to the old woman. You collect yourselves. You cough up this gelatinous blackberry juice. You're in this weird subterranean space with this old woman and this blackberry topiary boy. Well, what do you all do?
Mahara dripping with the sap, still kind of covering her and sort of snorting some out of her nose. She looks at the other two and says, "This is all your fault."
Me?
My fault. I was trying to get you to leave.
Well,
You're the one that punched me.
well, I'm here now, but it's because of you. Just wanted to go home.
Stop griping. This is where we were trying to get to.
This is where you were trying to get to.
If you didn't want to be here, you wouldn't have come.
Well, how do we get out?
The old woman says, Come over here and get cleaned up. You can't go home until you're cleaned up.
There, you see? And Marta will march over to her and stand straight up, ready to be scrubbed.
She does scrub you, yeah. It's rough, and she's dipping this rag into the water, and the water never gets dirtier from the blackberry juice. It always stays perfectly clear. And she's scrubbing you, and she says, in a low voice to you, Marto, whatever you do, don't look in that basin of water.
Why not?
Well, because you might see some things you don't want to see.
Oh, Marta can't resist that.
Do you look?
Yeah.
You see a scene of the future, perhaps. Your family during the winter solstice, having a celebration, a feast, grand hall, festooned with decorations, a table set with fine cutlery and delicious foods. fowl and game and pies and cakes. And you're not there. And everyone seems to be really enjoying themselves.
Is my sister there?
She is not there either. But your other siblings are there. Your parents are there. Your uncles, your aunts are there. Everyone's laughing, having a good time, and none of them have mentioned you yet. It's almost like they've gotten over you completely. Do make a ruin roll.
4.
4. I don't think you're in the same room as me.
Well,
You're keeping it together. How do you feel, though?
I think something about that is not entirely surprising to Marto. That, his parents were always little. He's not the eldest son, so he's, he's not in line to inherit anything particularly. And his sister is his sister, so she wouldn't inherit anything, even though she's older. And his parents were always quite distant, so I think there's a glimmer of hope in Marto's mind that the reason he and his sister are not there is that they are somewhere else together.
Mara and Maradi, what are you doing right now?
Other than seething?
Emma, you'll notice, is walking slowly, but definitively towards the topiary.
Yeah. Mahara will rush up to her and sort of grab her by the wrist. Where are you going?
She says, "Look at that berry. I think that beautiful red berry in the boy's hand. I think that that's truly what's been whispering to me, what's been singing the song of the bramble. I think the song of the bramble is held within it. I just want to get closer so I can hear it."
So I have the condition protector of the spirit child. Is that child around, or do I sense it? Do I feel it down here?
Protector of
Spirit child.
Remind me what this came from.
I believe it came from when we were up in the, I guess, cave garden thing. One of the children sort of clung to me.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they can be with you, I think.
Then I'll call out to it. What do you know of this berry?
They look at you and they say, "Only that we should not touch it. We've been told to never touch it." Now, Maradi, you have a drive of defying authority. How do you feel about not touching this beautiful, large carnelian berry?
Oh, I'm going to touch it.
The old woman, after she shoos Marto away, she says, "Don't go any closer, boy. You need to get washed up and go home. There's nothing for you here."
Says who?
Says a woman who's been around for a long time and knows what she knows. Now come over here and get cleaned up. I don't have all day.
He's going to approach with his bottom lip jutted forward a little bit, and he'll say, "So, what, because you're the adult, we just have to listen?"
And she says, "I know you're probably not accustomed to being told what to do by adults, given you have no parents of your own. But nevertheless, sometimes you have to do what you're told, boy. Sometimes your adult figures in your life know better than you do, and they don't have to explain themselves. Now hold out your hands so I can wash them."
Maradi's going to look at her and say, "But I'm the adult here." and his eyes are going to go pitch black. And I'm going to use a ritual.
Oh, speak truth into being. Very good. Well, let's do it. Rob, Jack, what could go wrong here?
The magic has no effect on this woman, and she will cast the same ritual on you, causing something terrible to happen.
I say
you are the adult here, but you're an old, decrepit, beyond, in your dotage adult.
And I was going to go one step further and say, you take her place.
That sounds good.
Do you have a skill that will help you out here?
The drive of defying authority and persistence.
Oh, sure. I'll take that. Yeah. And Devil's Bargain. Everybody can make one.
No matter what, you will see your family, your birth family, in that water.
That's a good one. I'll say that no matter what, if you fall to ruin, you will become the new topiary boy.
I think I'm going to adapt my failure condition into a devil's bargain and say, no matter what, the ritual causes you to
be old,
to age. Yeah.
3 interesting choices.
Yeah. I really like the idea of becoming the Bramble boy. But that's only if I fail.
That's only if you get to 6 ruin, yeah.
So I think I'll go with the family in the water, because that could be interesting.
And take a dark die for the ritual. Let's see how you do. 6.
A dark 6.
And you are at 6 ruin. She says to you, well, since you're so determined to defy your authority figures, boy, and since you truly are the adult here in the room, I can see that now. Maybe you can, in any case, do as you wish. Me telling you not to look in that water will fall upon deaf ears, or will otherwise have no authority with you, because you're the adult.
That's right.
And she kind of gently brushes her hand in the water. You look, because that was your devil's bargain. I think you see a scene of the woman who was your mother, who gave you up for adoption. She's talking to another man who you don't have any reason to believe is your father, laughing. They're also celebrating the winter solstice with their several children that they've had. They seem to be doing well. The children seem happy. And you don't seem to be even a glint in the eye of their memory. This is what pushes you to ruin. How does it make you feel?
I think his face turns almost purple with anger, and a few tears start to build up, but he straightens his back, and he's starting to think of how he can make her pay what he can say.
The old woman says, oh, there it goes. Her heart is starting to fill with anger and anguish. You're doing exactly as the Bramble wishes of you. Some might even say that you are getting ready to take your place here, to sing your angry song for all other children who might wander through. I tried to do my best, of course. I always try to do my best. I always try to wash them clean. And then she looks at the topiary, but I don't always succeed. I think we just don't see you for a moment, but in epilogue, you can tell us about Maradi's fate. However, Rob and Jack, I would like to know how the Scoundrel's Quarter is reacting favorably to this, since it is now going down to Ruin 1.
It's a small scene, but we see that there is this lone, small child rabbit. And it looks like it's wandering through the quarter and looks almost lost. And it's stressed, it's shivering, it's shaking. But there's a moment where a larger rabbit comes out, followed by a second one, and they nuzzle up to it and they comfort it. And the mother and father of this rabbit escort this I forget what a baby rabbit is called, but they escort it into a bush, and they are safe together, happy as a family.
We see a part of where the tangled bushes and undergrowth of the Calder have imposed upon the city, but an enterprising topiarist has been out and trimmed some of the bushes into a beautiful representation of a boy.
Mahara and Marto, you don't know what happened to Maradi. Emma says, "We'll not see him again, I fear." Mahara, what are you doing right now?
She still has a grip on Emma's wrist, but I think with Emma being so persistent, Mahara squeezes tighter and starts to yank her towards her and says, "We have to go."
Emma says,
"No."
Oh, go ahead, Marta.
"Surely you're going to taste the berry first. We've come all this way."
No, that's. And I think when she's saying that, though, as she's feeling the temptation, her mouth is watering just looking at the luster of this beautiful berry. It's even hard for her to resist it, and she's feeling its lure. But I think she's trying to keep her wits about her, and she's looking away from it now and looking to Marto. You can eat the berry.
The old woman says, "Come here, girl, and let me wash you clean to send you on your way."
Fine. And Meher just sort of marches over. And I think she tries to pull Emma, but Emma is she's stone stiff at this point. And realizing that, she just sort of huffs and gives up and just marches over to the woman.
Indeed. The woman is cleaning you with the water and the rag. She takes a minute to catch her breath on her sword, leaning on it. And she says, "Now you're a good girl. I know you'd never look in the water. In fact, I know as soon as I'm done here, you're going to go down that path right over there." And she points in a direction. That path will lead you back to the village. Back to, well, what are they calling it these days? Kavir.
And you promise that that's going to get me back home.
Well, you are not the only child to have found their way here. You're certainly not the first to have thought better of the situation and turned back, even if not all of them do. You'll be all right.
Okay, but you promised. And she just sort of stiffens up and allows herself to be washed of the sap and the blackberry junk.
And then she leans in and says, "You absolutely must never tell any of the other children back home about this place. This mystery is for you and you alone."
She stiffens up when she hears that, and she doesn't look directly at the woman. She just takes the words in, and her eyes sort of drift over to Mardo, and back to Emma, and then back to the woman, and says, "I promise."
Do you go back the path?
Yeah, but I'd like to do a reduction roll on the way out.
Okay, what's the justification for that?
Well, I'm at 5 ruin, and I think that she thinks that Mardo and Emma are just sort of resigned to this, and maybe it's sort of an unconscious reduction roll, but I think
She doesn't help them. She doesn't try to get them to leave, basically.
yeah, so,
Yeah.
and maybe even like some of the pathway maybe collapses in on itself or something like that, or like while she's trying to figure herself out.
Yeah. Let's see if your disinterest or your giving up on them goes noticed. It does not. Indeed, you find your way back home by following the path. Marta, that just leaves you, the topiary boy. You're cleaned up. You can turn back now as well if you wish. You have that option. Or you can go for the carnelian berry.
I've come all this way. I must have a taste. Just a taste.
Filthy, filthy boy. I warned you. I gave you a chance to go back to your luxurious hall and your life of plenty, but you have to have the juice in your mouth. They always do. Well, not always, I suppose. You should follow the example of your friend.
And be a coward and just turn back right at the end.
That impetuousness. That impetuousness is why you will never ever sit at the head of your family's table. You're not fit for it.
Make my own table one day.
Do you go for the berry?
Yes.
Make a ruin roll. 3, you're okay. And with that, we'll go to epilogue. Tell us about your character's future. Try not to implicate any other character. And yeah, whoever wants to go first, take it away.
For Mahara, she gets out of that pathway, out of that passage, and looks back and sees that some of the earth has caved in on itself, but I think she's too frazzled and too upset by this whole situation that she just sort of looks at it for a moment and considers it, but then continues to walk. And due to the nature of the forest and its density, it's hard to tell sometimes what time of day it is or how long she's been traveling. But finally, she gets out of the woods into the clearing. She sees the village just maybe a mile or so ahead. And as she's getting closer to it, she realizes something is missing. You see, she's part of a nomadic caravan. So is Emma. They're gone. And she sees other kids, or who were kids, but they've aged. And she wonders and thinks to herself, how long was she really gone for? And looking around, she sees a familiar orphanage, the town orphanage. And not knowing where else to turn, She heads inside.
I think the song from the Bramble that Emma heard, that other children have heard throughout the years, it's different now. It's angry, it's betrayed, and it is defiant. And children who listen to it a little bit too long, they come back different. They come back a little more bitter.
I think Marteau never returns to the village. He takes that sip of that bite of the berry, and the juice is just unimaginably sweet and delicious. And he finds himself on sometime later on the path back, the same path that Mahera found herself on. But he can only look behind him at the route back to the heart of the Bramble. And his only thought is to return there again and taste the berry again. So he turns back from putting his back to the village and starts walking.
The Blackberry Festival is a great success. We will check in on our treasure hunters after we get back from, I need a longer break to prepare for the next thing. So let's take a 15-minute break. We'll come back and continue. We are back with Amanda returned. Hello, Amanda. And a brand new character because, of course, we lost Magda last time, sadly.
Rip.
Let's meet this new character. So do tell us about Alina.
Alina has an occupation of medium, which gives me the skills in spirits, vigilance, and willpower. She is an expelled apprentice, which gives me experience in lore, and I'm trying to earn the respect of the governor of Fort Durin. You see, I was recently involved in a situation where some debate happened in can't remember where we were. Actually, give me 1 second. I should have looked this up. Where's the map? I can't remember. I think it was probably Fort Durin. Anyway, just talking about the sisters. My religion, of course, the most appropriate religion there is, and about whether or not they are false. And I unfortunately got involved in a bit of a scuffle after that debate, wherein I may have hit some people that were claiming false things. And so now I am out on an adventure to prove the sisters exist and to gain the respect of the governor who has banished me.
Very good, very good. I love it. So what skills do you have?
Spirits, vigilance, willpower, and lore.
Okay.
I've taken rituals in ashes, which is burn something irreplaceable to turn a creature or object to dust, and guide, which is conjure a thread to follow. It does not specify where.
Indeed, yeah. Fantastic. I think you are going to meet these characters for the first time at the Blackberry Festival of Kavir, which is just wrapping up. And What were you doing at the Blackberry Festival of Kavir, Alina? The other three were just getting drunk and eating pie.
I was specifically looking for them.
Oh.
It took a little while because I don't really know what they look like aside from
Hmm.
vague descriptions, and they weren't quite as majestic as the rumors, have said. But I found them eventually. I am wishing to join their party on their next excursion, so to
I
speak.
love it. Yeah. Well, there they are. By the time late in the evening, Cassian, Melkuth, and Torum, by the time Alina finds you, what state are you in?
Malkuth is absolutely three sheets. I think he did the pie eating contest early in the day. Uh, I'm not sure if he won, but he did place pretty high. But after that, sort of as a celebration, he had some of that beautiful blackberry ale. And I think when Alina and the others would find him, he's sort of like reclining on a bench, eating like a rabbit leg that's covered in a blackberry glaze.
I think we see Torum he's sitting on a hay bale with some kind of flagon, and he's very still and just gradually kind of tilting to the sideways, and then catches himself and sits straight up again. And yeah, he's just quite out of it.
I think Cassian has been off on his own for most of this trip and has been working on the map, filling in notes, refining their path, and not partaking as much as the opportunity would allow.
Alina, it seems like Cassian might be the most approachable of the three of them right now.
I give the other two a bit of a disdainful look, and I will then approach Cassian. You're a member of this adventuring party, yes?
I think he'll glance up, give her an appraising stare for a moment, and say, "That depends."
This party, and I gesture sort of vaguely towards Torham and Malkuth. With these people.
Is there something I can help you with?
Oh, well, I suppose I am hoping to join your party so that I could also, you know, go places.
Oh, I wouldn't recommend it.
Well, I'm going to do it. You see, that's it wasn't really like a request. Um More like a declaration of intention.
He'll fold up the map and sit up a little straighter and say, "Then why are you speaking to me at all?"
Just to introduce myself, I suppose.
Well, well
Hi,
met.
I am Alina.
Very good. You can call me Cassian.
Cassian. Well, it's certainly a time meeting you. Um,
That's Malkuth over there, barely not vomiting. And Torum is the large, unnaturally still one.
he is quite big, isn't he?
Yes, you get used to it.
And
Adventure. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, and where are we going next? What's the next plan? What's going to happen?
Indeed. Adventure comes knocking on your door right away. A wildfire. Not too far from here has broken out. It has broken out near Kermug Castle. A castle that hosts a royal family with no real power anymore. But they are still there. They are still ostensibly rich, and their lands are burning. Yes, it is a very timely sort of incursion to do right now. Buried wealth rests with buried nobles. Queen Banmer's cairn lies in Kermu Castle, nestled in the mist-shrouded moors of the Black Mountains, which are nearby. News has reached your ears that a wildfire has caused most residents of the castle and the village at the foot of the mountains to take refuge elsewhere. Indeed, some of them have already reached Kavir in their attempts to gain refuge. This is a tremendous opportunity if you act right now. Slip in as soon as possible, plunder the presently unguarded wealth of Kermu Castle, and ride away before the locals return. Now, you've heard stories, of course, of shrieking heard on the moors, but that can't have anything to do with the castle, can it? It doesn't matter. What matters is the gold and jewels just ripe for the taking. You must act tonight. Tonight is the night. It is very sad that Malkuth is drunk and Torum is also drunk.
I give myself the condition intoxicated.
Very well.
I think Torum's big enough that he can shake it off to some extent, but yeah, it's.
You can have mildly buzzed for now. And Cassian, this is your opportunity. You can ignore it. You don't have to go. You don't have to do this, but it is here to be done.
I think upon gathering the information about the castle and the fire and seeing the opportunity there, he would rouse the group and Alina and explain that the opportunities here may be too much to pass up, and should we succeed, it will definitely help us further other goals.
And I'll remind you that you have not had any leads or incursions or attempts or effort or opportunities, I should say, to find treasure in some months ever since coming back from the Rhyme Palace.
Finally. And Malkuth sort of staggers up to his feet, like a rabbit bone still in his mouth. All right, we're going.
I imagine these people were probably unfaithful, hence the fires. So I think, yes, absolutely.
I'm sorry, who are you?
Alina,
Hi, Alina.
I'm part of your group now.
Oh, okay. Cool. Well,
And big guy, who are you?
Torum.
Torum. You certainly eat your vegetables, don't you?
Yes.
he doesn't say a lot, but he's really big.
Well, this has been very awkward. Shall we go?
Yeah. And Malkuth sort of stumbles into Cassian a bit as he's starting to march ahead.
Now, I will say that the Black Mountains are really, they're mountains. They're not far. If you look at the Mapkeeper, they're basically just north of where you're at in Kavir. It's not very far. You can see the smoke from where you're at. But it is nevertheless a waypoint on your map. You can see the smoke from where you're at, and in short order, as you make your way to the wildfires, you start to smell the smoke and inhale the smoke, and you can see the fires. Now, Karamug itself is still some distance away. Ordinarily, the moorlands have dense purple heather and scattered white cotton grass, but much of it has been reduced to ash. Large fires still burn, and the air is thick with low-lying smoke. The road to Karamug is still ablaze, so a path through the still-burning heath must be found. Your first set in this incursion, which is called the Smoldering Moor, by the way. Your first set is the wildfires. Your first set goal is to reach the village of Karamug.
I think before we get started, maybe we could all say a little prayer to Saint Fatima, who is
I will say
of
that
course,
this speech is happening as you cough because smoke is currently
so that
entering
we
your lungs.
so that we can get through this a little bit more safely, you know.
No, I'm good.
Who is this person?
But Saint Fatima, you don't know who the saint you don't know the sisters.
No,
Sisters are assholes, first of all.
I know the sisters. I don't know who you are.
No one does. She's new.
Alina, I'm part of your group now.
Yeah, she's
And
Elena. She's part of the group.
I'm sorry, did you just say the sisters are you know holes?
Yeah. Is that a problem?
Why would you say such a thing?
Well, they are. And I think he's at this point sort of like trying to sober up, and I think the smoke is starting to like clear his head a bit in a weird way. I think it's, so acrid.
Indeed, a dark plume of smoke rolls by, with two bright cinders flaring in it like the flashing eyes of a beast. Far away, a wolf howls, in ecstasy or terror, it's unclear. And a moment later, a much closer, unidentifiable shriek from within the fire. The fire is raging. You must reach Karamug. You must get through it. That is your first task. I will tell you that up ahead, on the ostensible path, a little to the left, there is a burned cart. You'll see that there. And a little to the right, there's actually a peat flat that has been untouched by the fire. You can also see, just in the distance, a small cottage on a rise, or at least what is left of a small cottage. Most of the other little structures around here have been burned down, but this one is still somewhat intact. That might be where the shrieking is coming from. There's not much time to act here. Cassian, what do you do?
Cassian will look at Malkuth, kind of judging how good of an idea it is, and say, Malkuth, hang back, but we should go see if someone needs assistance.
I fear if Malkuth breathes too heavily, he might catch fire, and that would be a problem.
If I think it would be best to proceed by going through the places the fire has already burned. Am I right?
You may be, but let's try and ensure we're not stomping over someone's carbonized corpse.
You hear another loud shrieking coming from the direction of the little cottage that's still standing. It's a shriek that is somewhere between pain and fear.
I think when Malkuth hears that, he just bolts towards the cottage.
Cassian's hidden in that direction too.
Two people bolting for the cottage. Torm, what are you doing? There's this overturned cart on the path.
I think I'll go look at that and see if it's in any way salvageable.
Alina, there's a lovely untouched peat flat as well.
I'm going to head towards the peat flat. I think running headfirst into danger is not my first decision to make right off the bat.
Let's talk about the burned cart. So a little bit off the road, there is a half-burnt four-wheeled ox-drawn cart. There's actually a partially burned ox corpse still harnessed to it. What do you do, Torum?
I think first I just try to grasp the yoke of the cart and tip it the right way up again.
Yeah, you're big enough where you could probably do that. Let me take a look at your skills. You might have a skill that will help you straight away. Speed, vigilance, transformation, protection. Oh, you have yoke. I think like if you just invoke a little bit of yoke, you'll be able to pull it up. No trouble. I'll let you take a hunt roll though, with 2 dice.
6 light.
Fantastic. Take your token and yeah, you right the cart and you see that there actually is a body that was sort of crushed underneath and also partially burned, sitting in the cart. What do you do then?
Can I tell anything about who that was?
Make another hunt roll.
Vigilance? Anything good to me here?
I don't think so.
All right, I'll just do a single die then. 3.
I will tell you that as you're kind of assessing the situation, you'll see that the partially burned ox corpse, the unburnt portion is actually crawling with maggots. Perhaps it's reassuring to you that nature, even in these harsh circumstances, gets about its business. You'll also notice that whatever bundles were in the cart's bed have been burned up and destroyed. But the body is still mostly intact. Alina, the peat flat, a small field of peat that is green and vibrant, untouched by the flame. In the center of it, there is a waist-high cairn. Why do you suppose this peat flat has been untouched? There seems to be no particular reason for that.
It's blessed by the sisters, of course.
Of course.
There's no other reason for it. So I am absolutely going to investigate this cairn to see what sort of thing the sisters thought were so important to save amidst all this destruction.
Do make a hunt roll.
Five.
Take your token. It's unclear who might be buried beneath this cairn, but you do see, placed in a place of prominence beneath the stones, a sword. The sword has been rusted through and the leather is rotten, but there are some semi-precious stones in the hilt, worth 1 gold if removed and sold. You can take that if you wish.
I would like to, yes. Clearly this is a gift that was given to me that I was specifically supposed to get, so.
But I also owe you a complication. The peat flat has been superheated, even though it's not burning yet. And disturbing the ground in any way, such as moving aside cairn stones, will vent skin-rending steam upon you. It's a risk roll to avoid being burned by it. I think that is basically what's at stake, is you will be burned badly by the steam. Do you have a skill that might help you in this moment? Bearing in mind it's a quick... Oh, vigilance is perfect. That's a good use of vigilance. And Jack, you can make the devil's bargain.
I think no matter what, you still get a little bit of steam on you. It burns you just a bit, but not too much.
I'll take it.
So condition level, not ruin level. That works for me.
Yeah.
Risk 2, and I think you have to take a dark die because of the nature of the roll, or the situation.
2 light, 1 dark.
5
That's a
light.
5.
You are going to take the steam blast. It's not going to be so bad to increase your ruin, but I am going to give you sort of blistered skin as a condition. Your hands and maybe your neck. And the complication, unless you want to add a dark die, is you have quite disturbed the ground here, and you will have to deal with more of these steam vents in order to get away from the peat field, to get out of it. If you add a dark die and try again for a 6 and you get a 6, I'll let you avoid that complication.
You just said that because you knew I wasn't going to do it. Now I want to.
Just I make the offer. You decide.
All right, I'm going to try it.
6 light. There you go.
6 light.
The sisters favor the bold, it would seem. You can go ahead and describe how you, with your sword bounty, how you managed to navigate away from the pea field.
That first burst of steam that grazes me, I jump away from it and I fling myself down onto the ground, looking around at these pockets of steam coming up like little geysers, and I think back to all of the dances that I learned, the dances to in reverence to the sisters. And I think back to when I was a child and I would skip around these dances doing things, and I just sort of harness that energy and with a prayer to yeah, probably Saint
Saint
Fatima.
Fatima, yeah.
Yeah. I
Or
jumped through.
Arya or of the Flame. Or
Oh
what's her
yeah,
name?
that's
Arya? I can't remember.
Ara?
Ara, I think it's Ara, yeah.
Yeah. And yeah,
Yeah, Saint
I
Ara the
sort of
Torchbearer, yeah.
jumped through and managed to make my way out of there holding this rusted sword.
Indeed.
I imagine I look very saintly myself at this point, where
Too bad there's no one around to see.
fire behind me.
Little Joan of Arc action going on.
Yeah.
Good. Malkuth and Cassian, you have run ahead to the little rise where the cottage is. A small cottage nearly in ruins on top of a small hill. The stuccoed walls are blackened with soot and the stone walls are quite bare. The roof appears to have been caved in, but not from the fires. What do you do?
I think just hearing these cries, Malkuth assumes that these people are in danger of being burned alive, and so there's sort of this moment of guilt of remembering who he's lost in the past, and just sort of pushes him forward. And I think just without thinking, he sort of just bum rushes the door.
Inside, the interior is covered in dry, brittle moss. There is a half-wrecked wardrobe sheltered by a wall that is mostly intact. What are you doing, Cassian?
Cassian will he'll pull his cloak up over his mouth and follow Malkuth, try look for anyone who might still be in here. He'll call out and see if there's any response.
That's the funny thing. You heard shrieking coming from here, but no one's responding. And there's not even that much space in this cottage. It's quite small. You would be able to see at a glance if anybody's in here, unless they're hiding in the wardrobe. Torum. So there's this body. The cart is all burned up, but the body is reasonably intact. What do you do?
I think so the cart is not in a usable condition.
No, I wouldn't say so. I mean, you might be able to it could probably be repaired to some degree, but certainly you can't deal with that right now.
I think I might as well go through the corpse and see if there's anything of value there.
Indeed. I'm not going to make you roll. You find a pouch containing some still usable spices and a simple skeleton key. None of these things are worth 1 gold, but they could be of use. I think the bigger problem is there's a wildfire flare nearby around you. As you're pulling up these spices and the skeleton key from the body, looking at this half-charred, maggot-infested oxen, the wildfire flare just flares up all around you. It even catches the cart behind you and sets it afire. And you can hear the maggots as they get caught in the wildfire flare. You can hear the maggots almost like popping like popcorn as they are burned away. Alina, you're not too far. You actually see the flare around Torum. What do you do?
I think I go running towards Torum. I have um I have a cloak, so I have the cloak out in case Torum is catching fire, so I could wrap him up in it and beat the fire out. So I'm basically just running at him with this blanket.
I love it. It's a risk roll. Rob, what could go wrong here if Alina fails?
I think, look, just inspired by the art that Amanda's using for the character, she's kind of wearing some flowing cotton clothes that could very easily catch fire.
Mm.
Very flammable.
Do you have a skill that will help you here? Actually, is that blanket thing part of your equipment, or?
It's the stiff wool cloak is one of my combat equipment.
You can take that for your die.
Yeah.
And then Ben, you can make the devil's bargain.
Either way, you are going to be infused with smoke to the point that stealth is going to be not going to be an option.
Ooh, fun.
Very intriguing.
Yeah, I'll take that.
2 light dice, 1 dark. Go for it.
5 light.
5 light. I'm going to make the smoke thing a condition. And smells of smoke. And the complication is a rough one. I'm going to burn up your
My cloak.
cloak. Unless you want to add a dark die.
Do I get to beat the fire out of Torum at least?
Oh yeah, Torum will be saved, but
oh good.
But if you want to avoid that, you need to add a dark die and try for a 6.
No, I'm gonna keep it.
Okay.
I like this not being able to be stealthy. I think that's fun, even if I have to lose my cool cloak.
All right. Please describe how you saved Torum and prove yourself worthy to the group.
I charge towards Torum with this cloak out, and as best I can, I guess I sort of tackle him with it. He's much bigger than me, so it's kind of like tackling a tree. I don't really get anywhere with that. But I'm able to wrap the cloak around him in like a hug, and then just using my arms beat down the cloak to put the fire out, in hopes that didn't get too badly burned. I can't reach his head, so hopefully that's not on fire.
We'll come back to this. We'll have a little follow-up scene there in a bit. Malkuth, you're first in. What do you do?
Well, now noticing that there's no one inside, I think he's calling out, but he's also using his warhammer to sort of search around to see if there's anyone or anything worth salvaging.
I think the wardrobe is probably the most promising thing here, because everything else has been kind of fall to ruin, it seems.
Yeah, I'll just throw it open then.
Go ahead and make a 2 die hunt roll.
Okay. Ew. A 3 and a 2.
You encounter something terrible. I'll take the fiction. Unless you want to add a dark die. Oh, no, you can't. It's hunt roll. I'll take the fiction here. You smash open the wardrobe and there's a small chest inside the wardrobe. The chest can be popped open easily, and inside of which there is a small pouch of smooth river stones, several small squares of fabrics. All of this is worth nothing, but also a small silver baby's rattle. That's worth something. When you pick up the baby's rattle, you hear an anguished cry coming from outside the cottage, just behind you, Cassian. Oh! When you turn to see who made this cry, you see a cloud of dense smoke shaped in the form of a woman wearing a simple dress. Her eyes are a swirl of cinders. As she cries out, she exhales clouds of burning cinders. She slowly approaches Cassian. The two of you are essentially pinned in the cottage at this point. As she approaches, she begins singing a lullaby. But the lullaby, it sounds terrible. It sounds choked with smoke. It sounds like the verse is being sung with a voice like embers, like burning paper. Cassian, you're nearby. What do you do?
Feels like there's pretty clear danger here. So he's going to draw his sword and point it at this smoke ghost and say to Malkuth, get out of there, get out of the building.
Hearing that, I think that he doesn't want Cassian to get hurt, so I think he just sort of looks at him and shakes his head, and I think he arms himself with his warhammer. But then looking around, was there any kind of sort of like blanket or anything like that, like in the wardrobe?
Yeah, I think so. There's probably like some kind of, like probably stacks of linens or something.
So I think, despite this being sort of a supernatural entity, I think still in his sort of intoxicated mind, this is a woman on fire. So I think he's gonna go rush ahead and try to like snuff her out.
Not a bad idea, because that actually might be a way of actually harming her. A regular weapon may not have done much. It is going to be a combat, though. She is an endurance 9, and I just need to know how you're both vulnerable. And then roll weak point.
I'm very flammable, especially with all the alcohol on me.
I feel like that's less alcohol, still flammable.
Not at the 4.
5 and a 4.
5.
We're looking for a 9. Malkuth, you can go ahead and roll. Combat 2. 5 and a 1. Not enough. And Cassian, you take a hit. I'm here to tell you, Cassian, that one of this creature's special powers is that armor cannot suck up her hits or soak up her hits. So you must take the hit, because it is, she strikes you with kind of spectral power, but a very distinctly fiery, smoky spectral power. We'll figure out what it looks like in a bit. But in any case, Malkuth, kick off the combat.
As she's wandering towards the entrance of the cottage, and Cassian is shouting at Malkuth to get out, she's got her arms extended towards him, and he yanks out one of this like ratty wool blanket from out of the wardrobe and just sort of like rushes towards her, trying to swaddle her in it. But I don't think he gets as far as he wants to.
Keep it going, Cassian.
I think she completely ignores Malkuth at this moment, and with her blazing eyes, she as she opens her mouth to sing more of the lullaby, there's just this gout of flame that pours through the air toward Cassian, and he barely dodges, taking it just the full brunt of it. Still, his cloak catches a fire, and his arm is burned, and he's just desperately trying to put it out.
Indeed, indeed. I'm going to give you a condition. Take burns as well. And let's keep it going. One more round. Unless you're bowing out. It's combat 3.
You want to stick with us?
Feel like we got to see it through.
All right.
Jesus. You succeed. You defeat her, but not before she gets a lick on both of you. With a 5-4 and a 2. Please go ahead and continue the fight, Cassian.
I imagine that Malkuth is going to succeed in wrapping her up with the blanket, but before he can do that, Cassian is going to try and take kind of a desperate swipe with his sword, and it, of course, passes right through the smoke, but she reaches back at his arm and grasps for him with burning fingers, and does another decent burn to his other arm this time.
Indeed. Malkuth, you can finish her off.
Because of her ethereal, smoky form, Cassian doesn't realize that he does strike something, but it is Malkuth's belly as he cuts through it. But again, too drunken and too much adrenaline to really care about it in the moment. And seeing his friend in danger, seeing this creature's fingers gripping him, he just sort of throws the blanket over the creature's head and torso and just sort of starts to yank her back and squeezes as much as he can until finally she just sort of becomes nothing but smoke and just pours out away from them.
Malkuth, you'll need to come up with a name for this creature and enter them in the bestiary. Also, Cassian, why don't you go ahead and roll Gold9, see if there's anything left over here.
Or gold.
Wow, that's crazy. Rough fight, but big payoff. Yeah, that's great. The treasure is the same in all cases. All that's left of her are these chunks of sort of crystalline embers. They're like embers in crystalline form. You have 4 chunks, and so they're worth 1 gold each. You gonna split those evenly or what?
Yeah. Split between Malkuth and I, and then we'll see if we split further.
Sure. Alina, we lost Rob so to work, and so I'm just going to say that Torum inhaled too much smoke, and so you pull him off the road to safety, and then you can continue on. So
yeah, it takes me a while though, pulling him. I have my arms under his shoulders, just sort of dragging him. He's really heavy.
You eventually get him to safety, to where you think the wildfire won't reach him. And now, where do you go? What do you do?
I look around to see where Cassian and Malkuth are.
You can hear probably the cries of the combat up ahead at the cottage.
I don't know if I want to head towards the combat. Can I, from my vantage point, can I sort of see a path through the rest of the fire towards the village?
And that's the problem. You have to. This is your set goal, and navigating the wildfires this is the problem. You do not see a clear path unless you have a way of making a clear path.
I'm going to use guide.
Ah, very good.
I would like to use my ritual guide. Yep.
This is I think if you succeed, I will let you navigate through the wildfires, which would be great. Jack, Ben, what could go wrong here?
The forest pulls Lena deeper into its burning maw, and she gets lost to the fire.
Yeah, I was thinking that the perhaps magical nature of the fire itself is going to burn the thread and lead you into danger.
I like both those. I don't think I have anything to add. Those are both good ideas. Let's talk about dice. Do you have a skill or a piece of equipment that will help you?
I kind of thinking willpower because this is a ritual that I am
You having
performing
to
this
fight
sort
through
of,
this harsh
yeah.
circumstances. Yeah, I'm into it. I will give you your light die there and Devil's Bargains. I'm going to offer them 2 bargains to choose from. The first, put the Scoundrel's Quarter in danger. The second, no matter what, there is one of these smoky cinder ghost things waiting for you all at the end of the line.
I'm going to put the Scoundrel's Quarter in jeopardy.
Go ahead and roll Ruin. A 1.
1.
Wow, the dice have
I'm
favored you
rolling
today.
so good
I know, the
today.
dice roll is with the sisters, it seems. Yeah, the Scoundrel's Quarter is fine. You have 2 light, and I'm going to make you do a dark. Well, you have to do dark because of the ritual, so go ahead. Yeah. 6 light, my goodness.
This is the best I've ever rolled.
Give us the scene. Like, what does the ritual look like? And you can pick up the other 2 on the way or whatever. You can even leave the thread for Torum, right? To come find you later. So
I think this is a situation where I fall down on my knees and I pray to Saint Ara the Torchbearer to guide me through this fire, to show me the safe way out. And as I do that, the amulet of protection that I wear starts to shine a beam like a laser pointer, a fantasy laser pointer, out towards the smoke. And I can see it where it hits the smoke and sort of passes through. And the smoke almost parts slightly for it as well. It's so clear to me now the way out. Just follow this thread of light. And I think, I'm trying to think of how I can get the other guys to follow it.
well, I do want to check in with them. Malkuth, did you keep the silver rattle?
No, I don't think he did. I think in his head, I think this silver rattle sort of activated this thing. So no.
Cursed object.
Yeah.
Well, then, are the 2 of you going to do anything else in this collapsed cottage?
If I have time to just make a quick hunt roll to just sort of like glance about, but if not, I'm totally fine.
I think you've kind of seen everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Then I'm seeing Kazian sort of burned up. He's going to try and help him up and get him out of the. Yes, I do have a bad history with children's toys. Going to try and get him out of there.
Indeed, let's just have that scene.
Mind your hands, Malkuth.
Sorry. And sort of hoisting you up and trying to like put you onto his shoulder and brace you up and sort of escort you out of the cottage. Really sorry about that.
It's as they're getting out that he sees the blood trickling down Malkuth's stomach, and he goes, "You're cut."
Oh, okay, that's what that was. Okay, I thought it was just the rabbit I had earlier.
How bad is it?
Uh, I don't know. We gotta find the others.
Uh, where? Why didn't they follow?
So, Alina, how might they notice the beam?
I think it sort of remains in the air like a ghostly spectral of itself as I am dragging Torum by his armpits into the smoke. So
I
I
imagine
think
Torm's
it's
also big
hard to
enough
miss.
too, right? We see you kind of dragging him in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just sort of wave you over. No explanation.
Yeah. Go ahead and try to limp along over there.
You don't look so well. What happened?
Uh, what happened to Torum?
Oh, he's fainted or some such.
Oh, this was not a good idea.
Oh, I found the way out. Just this way. Could somebody help me with him? He's very heavy.
Yeah. And not letting Cassian go, I'll try to like scoop up Torm into his other arm, but obviously he's massive compared to the other two, and so it's very off balance. And he'll just sort of again limp along and try to keep both of them upright.
You'll
I
be
can
able.
walk,
Oh, go ahead.
Makuth. I'm fine.
Oh, okay. And he'll just let go.
You'll be able to navigate the wildfire to the village uh, safely by following Alina's guide. I do want the scene though. Like, just give us a little bit of each of you. Give me a little description of the forest as it's overtaken by this fire and how you're having to dodge flares and things like that. Maybe something to do with the wildlife.
I think in some of the places where the fire has died down, we already see the beetles as they start to swarm in to feast on the small amount of food that is still left for them. The same beetles that will eventually cause the area to be cleansed and start the forest anew. This is just a part of the life cycle as far as Alita is concerned.
I think
It's
we pass over a large, uh, crumbling mess of bird bones from a flock that didn't quite make it out before the smoke forced them to the ground.
as Malkuth follows behind the others with Torm in tow. He's looking around, coughing, obviously, water in his eyes, but he sees similar faces of those blistering banshees or the blistering banshee that they fought outside the cottage. And they look hungry. They look excited that they're in here.
And with that, we'll take a 5-minute break. You arrive at Karamog Village, and indeed, this is your next set. The village of Karamog is built onto a narrow switchbacking area on the lowest foothills below Karamog Castle. Built of stone and stucco, the buildings of Karamog are intact but soot-blackened. The air is heavy with clouds of smoke, and in places, embers of burning wood litter the narrow streets. You have a goal here, an intriguing one that your characters are not aware of, but as players, you're probably going to be very interested to achieve, which is learn what preparations the Karamug people were making. I will put that in chat for you. When you arrive, you don't see any people anywhere. As noted earlier, the refugees they've flowed out before. They were already gone. That's why you're here, because there's no one around to stop you from plundering the place. And you saw some of those refugees at Kavir. So it's quite empty. And yet there's a big windmill and a bakery next to it. And inside that bakery, there is charred and rotting bread, and the oven is somehow still burning. They must have left this place in a real hurry. The smell of burnt bread is oppressive, as is the unrelenting clunking of the mill's broken shaft turning inside. Now, in addition to like homes and things like that, there are 3 sort of central businesses, I guess, here in this little village, or institutions, or whatever you want to call them. A blacksmith, the aforementioned bakery, and a tavern called the Maiden's Embers. There's also a temple, a small little temple to the sisters. There's no one around, and the wildfire's behind you currently. What do you all do? Malkuth?
Do any of these buildings look maybe like maybe they're stone, or maybe less affected by the fires?
Well, so none of them are burning.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, there's a little bit of like detritus here and there that's on fire because of just the otherwise conflagration going on around it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the fact that, as I noted, the buildings are made of stone and stucco, so even the fires that have reached the outer edges of the village have not completely consumed those buildings.
Then he'll motion over to Alina. Hey, it's one of those temples. You want to, and he's sort of hoists Torm up, maybe put him inside sanctuary and all that.
Yeah, the safest place you could be. Absolutely.
Sure. And yeah, if we both have him, start to go towards the temple.
Cassian, what are you doing?
So you said there's the tavern, the temple, and
there's the bakery and the blacksmith.
blacksmiths work with hot things.
Yes.
Cassian's going
Generally.
to go in there and see if maybe they have any like salves for burns.
Oh, very interesting. We'll start there, since you move quicker than the group belayed or delayed by a large man. When you go inside the blacksmith, it's essentially a 3-walled building, 3 stone walls. The 4th is actually a series of large stable doors which are open. Everything is as expected in a smithy. There's a hearth, currently cold, bellows, anvils, hammers, tools on a rack. In the back of the shop, you see a mound of coal and a pile of iron. And there's a waxed canvas tarp covering something back there as well. What do you do?
I'd like to I guess I'll look under that tarp. That would be where maybe someone's hiding something useful.
Yeah, make a hunt roll.
I don't think I have anything that will really help me there. A 1.
A 1. Did you have any hunt tokens?
I did not.
Okay, well, you don't lose any, so that's good, I suppose. You do encounter something terrible. As you are making your way towards the back, you hear crying. And then you see, hasn't noticed you yet, but one of those embery ghosts floats by. What do you do?
I think vividly remembering last time he was in a room alone with something that was crying and losing a hand for it, he's going to try and back right out.
Malkuth and Alina, you get to the temple. It's actually just a little single room chapel. It's probably a more accurate way of describing it. One side wall has a wide, shallow fireplace with an open trapdoor to an ash pit. Along the furthest wall from the entrance is an altar. The altar contains a bronze statue half the size of a person depicting a woman in robes with wild curly hair. Once you get Torum settled, what do you do?
Is this one of the sisters?
It is.
Would I know who it is?
Make the
I
hunt
go
roll for
and
sure.
poke around. Yeah.
You make the hunt roll using lore as your 2 die.
6.
Alina has the
This is
blessings of the
incredible.
sisters. Indeed, the sisters are real. Take your token. Closer inspection of the statue reveals it to be Saint Magrette, tender of the Moors. She holds a rabbit in one hand and a small knife in the other, typical of her portrayals. The bronze statue, because it's bronze, it's actually quite hollow, and it's half the size of a person. Malkuth, if you were so inclined to steal it, it'd be worth 2 gold.
I mean, how can I say no? Yeah, but I did also want to make my own roll to not necessarily, to see if I can figure out any other kind of traces of life, or maybe like kind of thinking of my skill of path, seeing if there was like a shelter or something like that, or a way that people went.
I like that. You can make a hunt roll with 2 dice.
Six.
The sisters provide. Take your token. I like the way you've described this. Indeed. I noted that there is a trapdoor in front of the hearth that leads to what is presumably the ash pit. And because of the skill that you used and because you got such a good roll, I will tell you that you see relatively fresh footprints in the ash going towards that trapdoor.
Alina.
Was this you? This wasn't you. You haven't come over this way.
No. This is a trap door. There might be people down there. Might be like shelter.
This is it. This is the moment. This is the moment where I feel like a real adventurer finding a trap door.
Yeah.
It seems. Oh, this is incredible. Is this how you feel all the time?
As you're asking that, he's pulling off the brass statue and sort of cupping it under his arm. Sometimes.
Oh, good idea. You definitely keep that safe. We don't want that to get burned. Yes, of course.
No, totally.
Wow. Okay, so do we open the trap door?
Yeah. You first though. I don't want to stumble down.
Okay. Here I go.
The trapdoor. The trapdoor does indeed lead to the ash pit. It's actually an oversized pit, about the size of a small room. And right down below, directly below, we'll assume you have some lantern light or something, or there's probably some, probably the candles were still lit. Everybody left in such a hurry here. Right down below on the floor of the pit, you see a priestess wearing traveling clothes as if she was getting ready to go somewhere, laying on the ground. What do you do, Alina?
Oh, I'm gonna rush down to her. If priestess of the sisters, she has to be. We have to help her. That's just.
You can hop down there, and you realize very quickly that she's dead.
We're too late, Malkuth.
Malkuth had gone back to put the brass statue with Torum, sort of let him cradle it, spoon it as he's passed out. But he'll call back and so what? And he'll race up to the entrance, look down, and then seeing Alina and the corpse, like, oh, yeah, we find a lot of those. Not
As
dead priestesses, just dead people.
That's very sad. I was so excited to get down here, and now I find I'm not quite as excited. But I can say some words over her body, and I think, yeah, I'm gonna say a prayer to one of the sisters that I think would be appropriate for this woman, based on what her outfit's like. And while I'm doing, I'm kind of patting her down to see if she has any identification and or valuables.
Make a hunt roll.
Ooh, a 2. There goes my luck.
There goes your luck indeed. You are doing this when you hear in this room voices that crackle like fire. Heretic, plundering the bodies of the dead. You must burn for your sins. And you see, Alina, you haven't seen them yet. You see, though, 3 of these cinder ghosts cordoning you down there in the pit. We'll come back to this in a moment. Cassian, you've got your own to worry about, but it sounds like you're leaving the blacksmith.
Yes.
So where do you
Hopefully
go then?
before it sees me.
Yeah, no, yeah, I was distracted, so you could, as long as you leave, you're fine.
Taverns also might have aid for travelers.
The conspicuously named Maiden's Embers Tavern. An old painted sign for this tavern is faded, chipped, and can't be made out, apart from just the name, but the image is no longer visible. It's a simple building, cozy, with several large fireplaces and heavy tables and chairs. 2 guest rooms are in a gabled attic. There's a bar, a kitchen behind it, root cellar, all the sorts of things you'd expect to find. Maybe even a little cottage for the publican who works there. What do you do?
Going to search behind the bar for anything that might be of use.
Yeah, do a hunt roll.
Once again, I don't think I have much for this. A 6.
Take a token. Probably most interesting, there's nothing in particular behind the bar that you wouldn't expect to find in a, behind the bar of a pub. But you will notice that basically between the kitchen and the bar, there is another trapdoor that goes to what is presumably the root cellar. And it's open. What do you do?
I think he'll crouch down and peer into the root cellar and say, "Hello, is anyone alive down there?"
Do another hunt roll.
2.
You hear a door slam, but not from down there. From one of the rooms upstairs. Slam. That's all.
I think Cassian will stand up, and are there towels or cloths or something clean from the bar to
Sure.
steal?
Yeah.
He's going to grab some of those in the hopes of using them as a bandage for Malkuth and their burns. And he's going to start heading to the stairs.
Going up or down to the root
Yeah.
cellar?
Up.
Up. We'll come back to this. Malkuth, you can see the danger that Alina is in. Are you going to hop down there with her?
No, I'm gonna actually extend my arm down and say, come on, you don't want to be down there anymore.
And escape. You haven't had time to search the body, though, Alina.
I think I'm going to not search the body. I think I'm going to run away from this scary situation. If there is an arm being held out to me, I'm going to take it.
Absolutely. This is a risk roll. Malkuth, you're going to make it. Amanda, what could go wrong here?
You drop Alina and fall down into the pit as well, unfortunately, becoming the target.
Nothing good. Do you have a skill that will help you here, Malkuth?
I have the power of love, but
Do you have an equipment?
No. I do have a chain.
Oh, that'll be good. Yeah, to kind of grab this. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can take a die for that. Ben, do you want to do the devil's bargain?
The spirit of the temple, the spirit of the temple, will know what you called the sisters, and whether it's a sister or just something that believes very strongly, it's going to be following you.
I'll take it.
Mm-hmm. That's fun. 2 light dice, and I don't need a dark die yet. Go ahead.
A 1 and a 3.
A 1 and a 3. That's not great. Unless you add a dark die to try to improve the die roll, you are going to fall down there with Alina, and you're both going to have to deal with these things.
I'm going to try a dark die.
6 dark.
6 dark.
You succeed completely. However, you do take a ruin. I think the ruin comes from, I think the ruin just quite simply comes from like the creatures like lash out at you as you pull Alina up, and so you take some burns. You're gonna take a condition, burns as well. But go ahead and give us the scene.
How do you start, Alina?
Yeah, I back up, sort of scooting backwards in a bit of a very ungraceful panic. And as Malkuth puts his arm down into the trap door, I reach up and grab it, and I think I throw one of my shoes at the things to try and distract them so I can get hauled up, and I sort of kick off the ground to help with one foot, of course, because my other foot does not have any shoes.
I think the gash in his stomach and mixed with the still swirling blackberry ale in his head, he grabs you at first, but you slip down towards his wrist and then fall again onto your butt. And he realizes that he can't do this on his own. So he sort of reaches around his pack, throws down the chain, and tries to like sort of suspend it from the altar, sort of like making it as an anchor. Try again. And he reaches down his arm, and that's when you're able to grab his arm and then latch onto the chain and climb up.
Yeah.
And I think I see as like just as you get up there, like they swarm, sort of close in.
The trapdoor slams down behind us, and little ash sort of blows up in a little ring of dust around the door.
Nice.
If there's a lock, I'm going to kick it closed.
Do you all leave the chapel?
Good question.
Where do we put Torum to be
Or you left
safe?
Torum there, yeah. But you can
Yeah.
leave
Bad
Torum
things in
there.
the cellar.
Yeah. Yeah, I think go on.
Oh, I think this place might not be quite as safe as we expected. Is that normally what happens under trapdoors? I was expecting treasure or some such.
You know, it's always a guess. Sometimes it's treasures, sometimes it's ghouls or banshees or
Huh.
whatever that was.
Yeah. We probably shouldn't stay here.
No, we should probably find Cassian.
Let's take our friend out of here. Can you're rescuing the statue so it won't get burned, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you want to just hold on to it until we get back to Kavir, then you can give it back to me.
Yeah, if that's what it takes. I mean, I'm sure you'll take good care of it. Uh,
Yeah.
Whoever's got the statue, note it in your equipment. It is worth 2 gold.
it is Malkuth's. Alina will give it back.
But just real quick, I think when he looks at you and there's like a little bit of like light coming in through the window, he pauses and there's a sobering moment where he goes, "You look a lot like my sister." And then he sort of walks away and starts to scoop up Torum.
I'm gonna pack that knowledge away in my brain.
As you're all getting out of the chapel, I will tell you, Malkuth, against all probability, a rabbit hops up right next to your boot. Cassian, you go upstairs. You heard this door slam. There are 2 rooms upstairs. You don't know which was the slam. One on the left, one on the right. What do you do?
I think Cassian is going to have his sword at the ready, but not quite raised in a threat display, and he'll say, "I'm a traveler looking for assistance and to provide assistance. We may be able to help each other."
Do a hunt roll.
Could my skill in silence help me hear
Yeah,
something?
I'll give it to you. Yeah.
A 3.
One of the doors was not completely closed. Indeed, you're turning away from it when you're making your little speech, and the door has slowly opened behind you. And then you hear, "Ah!" And when you turn, you see a young man, probably no more than 18 or 19 years old, with a wood chopping hatchet rushing at you. Ah! What do you do?
Going to try and use my sword to disarm him.
It's a risk roll. Jack, what could go wrong here?
Go wrong. He puts the hatchet into your head.
Or you kill him. Do you have a skill?
Yep. I'm wondering if my
Or your sword
background
can
as a
count.
King's Guard.
Oh yeah, I like that too. You got 1 light die. Amanda, what's the devil's bargain?
No matter what, if this person recognizes you,
I like that, yeah.
2 light, 1 dark.
4 light.
You succeed. I do think you are going to disarm the young man and not kill him, but you will accidentally grievously injure him. Unless you want to add a dark die.
Yeah, okay, I'll do that. 6 dark.
Ruin goes up, but he's fine. Go ahead and give us a scene.
I think Cassian is a little too startled to get the axe off of him before taking a bit of damage himself. He instinctively raises his wooden hand to try and catch the axe, but he ends up getting the blade in his arm, and he then just uses his hand to yank the axe out and throw it into the wall.
He says, please don't hurt me.
I said I wasn't going to hurt you.
There's just so much. I didn't. I'm very sorry.
Are you hurt? Are you harmed?
No,
Do you have bandages?
I I may be able to help. Oh, what happened to you? Did you come through the fire?
Yes.
Why would you do such a foolish thing?
I heard that someone was awaiting me with an axe, and I couldn't wait to meet them. Bandages, please.
He goes and he will help you with your burns. You can remove that condition. And as he's doing this, though, he says, "So what are you really doing here?"
My friends and I heard assistance might be needed in this area.
Well, there's no one else around. Everyone left because of the wildfire.
And why haven't you?
But it's a bit embarrassing, actually.
I believe you owe me the truth.
I may have I may have had a little too much to drink at the Maiden's Embers tonight. And I may have fallen asleep beneath a pile of hay in the stable and missed the entire evacuation.
You're from this region.
Well, this is my home. This Caramel Village is where I'm from.
Good. Come with me. You can help us, and we will bring you with us when we leave.
All right. What's your name?
You may call me Cassian.
Thank you, Cassian, my savior.
Just Cassian.
My name is Theo.
Well, grab the axe, as long as you don't intend to use it on me again.
Torum, you fell unconscious in the wildfire, and Alina dragged you out and rescued you. And indeed, the group dragged you through the wildfire to Kermuk Village. They hid you for a time in a chapel, but that chapel is infested by fire ghosts, and so they have dragged you now out into the middle of Kermuk Village, where you are coming to right now. Also, you are clutching a bronze statue of Sister Maigret, which they've taken from the chapel for safekeeping.
Yeah. Oh, you're alive. Huh.
What happened to me?
Praise to the
What is
sisters
this?
for this. That's Saint Maigret.
We're taking care of it, making sure it doesn't get pillaged.
Yes.
There's also a rabbit.
Yeah. Malkuth, when he says that, notices the bunny rabbit at his feet and sort of gives a sharp look downwards without moving his head, and tries to pull his bit away from it just very gently.
The Saint Maigret statue is also holding a rabbit, but also a knife.
Bunny rabbit! Oh, goodness. And I'm going to go scoop it up.
Torum, the wildfire is behind you, though you can certainly still see it. The village itself, there's little bits of wood here and there that's burning, but it's mostly a stone and stucco village, and everything's pretty well intact. I've already described the main buildings here. There is the tavern, which is currently where Cassian is coming out of, or is at. I don't know if he's coming out yet, but he's there with this new young man, the only other person in the village that we've seen so far. There's also this temple that you were just dragged out of. There's a blacksmith, and there's a bakery with a windmill next to it. Torum, as you get up, what do you do?
I think I'm looking around in some confusion. So, the three of you, are you in my life, it seems?
Well, mostly me.
Yeah.
But yes, teamwork.
Yeah.
I'm petting the rabbit.
Who is this again, Malkuth?
This is Harold, the rabbit. He's my new friend.
That's Harold the Rabbit, our new friend.
This is very confusing.
I'll note here you have a set goal as well. Learn what preparations the Kermuk people were making. This is out of character set goal. Your characters know nothing about this. Cassian, as you go downstairs to the main floor of the tavern, Theo says, I was going to grab a drink on the way out. I mean, it would be a shame for all this to go to waste, in case the fire consumes the entire village eventually.
Have a drink and stay here on your own, or don't and come with us.
Well, all right then, but I mean, have you sufficiently checked to see if there are any valuables that were left behind?
No, I will do so after I've regrouped with my friends.
Oh, there's more of you.
Yes, that is what.
You sent a whole big search party to help out people who don't exist in the town. Surely you saw the line of refugees leaving the Black Mountains on your way in.
Funnily enough, I've found one person remains. Perhaps there are more fools who stayed.
Very well, I have decided to go with you, Cassian. After I grab a drink.
Watch out for the root cellar. There's probably something terrible in it.
He's
going to go for the front door.
Oh. You'll see the others in the little square there.
Yeah, you'll hear Malkuth yelling her name out drunkenly.
Oh, Torum, you're awake. Good. Beware the smithies. Another fiery ghost is within.
Same with the temple.
Oh, good. I found a surviving person.
Are they a fiery ghost?
We're not that lucky.
Fiery ghosts? How did you fight such things?
Cassian will roll up his sleeves and say, "Not well."
With a blanket.
I point down to my one bare foot. Through a shoe. Maybe we should just find something to drink. Some water, some such. I feel like all of this heat, we need to reestablish what we're doing.
Is there
Unless there's a thing that happens after this.
Is there a well in evidence anywhere in this village?
There is, yeah.
Perhaps there. Alina, was it?
Yes. And this is Harold.
From the window in the Maiden's Embers, Theo will say, he's leaning against the windowsill, "Oh, I wouldn't drink the water from that well."
Oh. Why not?
It's just not good. Polluted, I would say. Much better to come in here and have a flagon with me, I think.
When Theo says flagon, I think that's finally when Malkuth breaks and starts to retch, and he goes over to the well and starts to evacuate himself of the alcohol and the
in
rabbit
the well
and pie. Yes.
I think I go
as I was saying,
I just sort of
Theo
pat
says.
Malkuth on the back, holding his hair back, There. Better out than in.
Theo still calling out to you. "So, where are we going from here? We surely can't go back to the wildfire."
Who are you?
I'm Theo. I was rescued by your friend.
Rescued from what?
His own axe.
Ennui.
Is this person coming with us? Like Alina? Is this another stray we are gathering to our flock?
Well, the more the merrier.
Well, we're apparently here to save people, right, Cassian?
That is what we've been saying, yes.
So what do you all do at this point? Cairnmouth Castle is not far. You are at the base of it, essentially. You have to go up the hill a bit, but
I think it was, if we're going up that way, I do want to ask Theo, do you know what started these fires?
he says, I think that's probably not something I should talk about.
It might be helpful.
You can make a hunt roll.
Can I count the it might be helpful as a command?
No.
Ooh.
Go back to the
One.
well, as it were.
Yep. Yep.
What'd you get?
Oh, I got a 1.
Oh, 1. You lose your hunt token. He says, well, you see, the situation here has been very complicated. There has been, well, let's just say that everything you're seeing here is part of an insurrection. The people of the village, they were getting ready to march. They were getting ready to march on the queen in the castle. And
they started the fires, or she started them to defend herself?
I don't know, but the fires started just after they had finalized their plans. Sister Thedra, she was the principal planner. I believe she carried about with her a journal, which she kept extensive notes detailing the situation here in Cairnmouth. I was never privy to them because of my age, but I'm sure she's gone by now. I don't know what happened to her. I assume she fled with everyone else. I was passed out underneath a bale of hay.
When he mentions this sister, Malkuth just sort of turns to Alina.
Oh.
I hope not.
Um, what does your sister look like? Just out of curiosity.
She's not my sister. She's a priestess of the sisters.
Ah. Right.
But
Do we
not.
tell him? Or do we not tell him?
What do you
So,
know?
Alina, you should probably.
Okay. I'm really, really sorry to break this news to you, but I do believe that your dear sister is in the cellar of the temple,
Oh,
unfortunately deceased.
oh, oh.
But I'm certain the sisters are with her, and her
And
soul is with them.
more importantly, her journal is probably with her.
Well, so like
We
that's the
should go
thing.
get it.
uh, so your sister has or the sister, the priestess has company. I still haven't figured out what to call them. I'm thinking maybe like blistering banshees or searing specters.
Ooh, searing specters is good.
Okay, we'll take that then. Yeah, there were a lot of them down there.
I don't
I
know
threw
what
my
you're
shoe.
referring to, but
Monsters.
monsters?
Fiery ones.
These
haven't-
fire ghosts you spoke of?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're terrifying. So we
And
we
hot.
left. We really shouldn't go back.
In the basement.
Of the temple. Well, it's not really a basement. It's sort of a trapdoor situation.
It's the ash pit. I'm sure we were always told that if there were ever raiders, we should go to either the root cellar or the ash pit. Now, so if she was hiding, that's where she would be hiding, in the chapel.
Well, unfortunately, it seems like the fire ghosts knew about that rule as well, and they went there too.
Could we flood this ash pit?
That's maybe not a bad idea.
Oh, I look back at the well that Malkuth just vomited into with a kind of grossed out look. Oh, we could probably use the water from the well.
Do
I
not need
assure
it
you
to
that's the
be.
least problematic of the matter inside the well.
Oh.
What else are you hinting about?
Oh, nothing. I just think Kermog is just quite filthy and disgusting, mostly on account of the fact that it's been left in, well, almost complete neglect by our queen, who, by the way, I will remind you, the villagers were going to march upon and kill.
Yeah, she doesn't sound pleasant. Well, we should probably just start. Yeah, see if we can, sort of start to pulley up the bucket of water.
Cassian, do you think one bucket at a time is going to be enough to take care of the searing specters or whatever we're calling them?
No, I think he'll be watching Malkuth just to a little incredulous that oh, you are how far from the well is this ash pit? Could we destroy a wall, flood it in a quicker manner?
Bigger channel or something.
Oh, a channel between the well and the ash pit. That's not a bad idea. You'd probably have to have magic, though. It's probably close enough to do that, but I think you'd have to have some kind of magic or something that would allow you to bust through the wall like that.
Well, I do have the
a
yoke
Leviathan.
ritual.
That works, right?
If you want to get down there and start busting up walls, you certainly can, Torum.
Are you going down the well to do that?
Yeah.
Seems it may be our best course of action.
We can fast forward to
rope.
that. We can fast forward to that.
Rope.
Getting down to the well is
down.
no trouble. Yeah, getting down to the well is no trouble. What it is truly when you get down there is it's just like a pool of water down a little ways. It is in the roughly in the same level as where the ash pit goes down to, and it is close enough that you could probably bust through the wall and create a channel to flood the ash pit and hopefully destroy the searing specters. It's a risk roll, and you have to use your yoke ritual. But if you succeed, I will let you flood the room and destroy these creatures. I just need to know from everyone ideas of what could go wrong here.
You do break the wall, but it floods the well, and you drown in this disgusting water.
Oh, like more water.
Yeah.
Like
there are creatures living down here they've made this their home, and you will be disturbing it, and they will not be happy with you.
If I can offer a failure condition myself, I'm thinking I'm just damage things so that the well collapses on top of me and I'm buried.
I was thinking something like that anyway, so yeah. Ben, do you have any other ideas?
I was going with creatures.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, let's talk dice. You have transformation. I'll let you have that as a light dice skill. And I'll put the single devil's bargain in play of putting the Scoundrel's Quarter at risk. That's the only offer. Do you have it? Do you take it, Torum?
Sure.
Make a ruin roll.
One.
Very. The Scoundrel's Quarter cares nothing The forest cares nothing for these fires in Kermugmore. Fabulous. You have 2 light dice, and I don't need a dark die yet. Or no, you have to do it because of the ritual. Yeah. 2 light, 1 dark. 6 light. There we go.
Fix light.
So these ghosts are sort of like, they're kind of shaped like people, women that all of you've seen so far, and they're kind of smoky, female shapes with embry burning eyes, and they wail and carry on. There are 3 of them inside the ash pit, and you are going to flood the ash pit. Give us the scene, Torum.
I think Torum is at the bottom of the well and examines the construction. It's probably loose stone with earth behind, and he calls up, Malkuth, may I borrow your hammer? And if Malkuth will toss it down, Torum will catch it, and then sort of curling in on himself, if you're watching from above, you may see his shape shift, the shadow of Torum down in the well. Something about the shape changes. He gets bigger, more broader in the shoulder, and then you just hear the sound of the hammer crashing at the stone, and the Torum grunting and bellowing almost like a bull as he bashes his way through this wall, and eventually you hear a great kind of rush as the water flows into the ash pit.
Nice. Alina, go ahead and roll gold 11.
Ooh. I think that might be the most gold I've ever rolled for at once.
Not bad. 3 gold. You'll collect 3 more of these. Whenever these things are destroyed, they sometimes drop these crystallized embers. They're embers in crystalline form, and they each drop 1, worth 1 gold each. Who's taking them?
I'm going to take one for myself. When I imagine the water kind of flows up a little bit as a, after effect. So yeah, I'll take one.
I'll pass.
Torum, you're going to take one then? Crystallized ember. Malkuth, do you want the other?
Yep, I'll take it.
And you now have access to Sister Thedra's body. She's wearing traveling clothes, like she was trying to leave with the rest. And she seems to have died from smoke inhalation, or possibly worse. And she's holding the book that Theo spoke of. It's actually not just a journal. It's a history and research notes about various rituals of immortality and how to break them. The earliest entries are over 100 years old, and the last page, dated a few weeks ago, seemingly written in her hand, says, I have delivered several large crystals of sky metal to Bryn. Hopefully he can blend them into suitable weapons to kill her. If this doesn't work, we may remain under her yoke until the end of days. That is your set goal met. And that is the conclusion of our session for today. Let's go to Stars and Wishes.
Stars for everybody rolling with this new character that I'm trying out, that I'm working on, and for star to Jason for giving me the idea for this character, having been one of the people that was at the discussion about the sisters during, I think that was the Flocculent Cathedral. So that's a lot of fun. Then I can't remember what you said specifically, but during your conversation with Theo, you said something about how he asked you why you were here, and I know the way you said it was just so funny. It was quick and clever, and it was still Cassian, you know. But yeah, that's I wish I could remember the line, but I'm so tired, my brain's not here. But that was great. I love Malkuth and excuse me, all of the stuff with the sisters like being very the sisters are assholes was a really great bit. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun to play off of. And Torum, you were weekend at Bernie's for a lot of this, and that was actually a lot of fun. But it's so much better to have you back, and I really liked your idea of using Yoke to bust down the well and flood the room because those things were scary and we didn't want to fight them.
Yeah, they're really hard, Rob, because armor doesn't work against them. So, yeah, they're very problematic. um,
Makes sense. Yeah.
I have a star for. I really enjoyed Alina a lot, actually. Sad as I am about losing Magda, I'm quite enjoying Alina. She's very funny, and her sort of like weird naivete mixed with these more hardened characters is a really fun dynamic. I particularly liked I really love the like, do you feel like this all the time? Like when you found the trapdoor, I thought that was really funny. Um, and I also thought the sort of like not understanding what Malkuth was doing with the statue was really great as well. Just really fun stuff over. I quite like this new character a lot. Yeah, I thought the plan for dealing with the searing specters was excellent because that's how you have to deal with these things. Doing combat with them is a bad idea. And so that was really good. It was a good scene. I also really enjoyed the interactions with Cassian and Theo. It was very amusing. And yeah, and I think like my wish is I'm really curious to continue this like little rabbit situation, which is the spirit that you attracted because of that devil's bargain. And what is the connection to the rabbit and Saint Margret? I think that's an interesting question to pose and wonder about. And yeah, I've never actually run this incursion. This is one of the ones I haven't run, and so but I'm liking it so far. It's really fun. It's very like action packed and like high pressure, which I think is fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, stars all around. Obviously, because this was really fun. I want to touch on the Ring 5 of Blackberry Jam. That was really fun. Definitely had like super rich folk horror vibes. I really liked everyone's epilogue. Especially this like I think I mentioned it last time, but you do like a petulant little kid really well, Torum, and I think that I love the idea of him almost getting home, but then realizing, no, I want what I want, and sort of going back. And then Ben, your very tragic sort of addition to this world, to this lore, was really fun. I'm not familiar with this incursion, but it's really fun. I really like the urgency, and especially not knowing that it was going to be this urgent, kind of throwing us all in these kind of various states of revelry was a good time. Individually, Ben, you're always good with the quips, and the one that I'm thinking of was when Malkuth said, "Oh, we're here to save them." He said, "Yes, that's what we're telling them." I thought that was great. And I also really liked, and this is also part of a wish, because he'd always so sort of buttoned up the kind of like when you were shouting at Theo at the end, like where are the bandages? The sort of like urgency that you had. I really want to see some. I want to explore that a bit more because I think that he's always so reserved, and I want to see what makes him tick. Sad to have Torum all weekend at Bernie's, but I think it definitely got redeemed when you you did the whole yoke ritual to get the passage open. And sort of as a wish on my end, I think this is really kind of I think you specifically are really throwing Malkuth in this sort of existential crisis because he used to be the biggest one, he used to be the strongest one, and he also used to be a minor. So he should have thought about that. But the fact that he didn't, like, he's like reassessing his place in this whole thing.
Coming for your gig.
I know, right? And then Jason mentioned a lot of what I liked about Alina. But yeah, this sort of like fresh, naive excitement is going to be really fun to play off of. Especially when you were like, "This is how you feel every time you find a trapdoor." I thought that was brilliant.
I want to throw in a star as well for Ring 5 of Blackberry Jam. It's like in my top 3 of favorite Ring 5s in Trophy Dark, and I love that. I love playing that old woman, and I love the little pool, and I love the thing with the topiary. It's also fun, and I really enjoyed. I just want to throw in a star for the fact that like that was just a great little story. Like it was a total side story, has nothing to do with the like Trophy Gold part of the campaign, except in the most like completely tangential way. But it was just a nice little folk horror tale, and I thought it was good fun.
Yeah, I was going to throw out a star, particularly for Jack's epilogue. Like they were all good, but I really like Jack's kind of tiny wimey weirdness one where he got back to the village, but obviously decades had passed or something. That was great. And yeah, I had fun with the appearance of Alina. I really enjoyed Cassian's reaction to her, and like the fact that the first person she encountered was him was just perfect, because Cassian was the one who never welcomed Tekla, and now here we are that he's the one that has to encounter Alina first. That was fun. I'm really intrigued to see, like everyone mentioned about the character of Alina, and it's fun to play off her. I'm kind of having fun with this fact that Torum like was drunk, so he didn't know who she was, and now he's been unconscious for a while, and does probably still haven't quite figured out who she is. And also, I'm really interested in the fact that her character is evidently based on some of the kind of sisters' lore from the Loom book, so that'll be great to start weaving that in. That's always fun to have that opportunity. And big stuff for everyone's fiery backgrounds. That looks really cool on my Zoom window. And start to everyone for putting up with my sudden absence and accommodating me there. Apologies for that.
As mentioned, I love Alina. Wrapping it up with a wish, Alina and Cassian's religious beliefs are pretty at odds, so it's going to be fun if we get to see how that happens, or how that shakes out. This was really good. I thought the ending to Blackberry Jam was great. As was mentioned, it did feel really fairy tale mythic-y, and was a lot of fun. The way we've just kind of been dropped into something that sounded like I wouldn't say a standard incursion, but didn't feel like it would go this hard this quick. And then the first monster we encounter just ignores our armor and chews us up. It was a great start. Looking forward to how things go for us next week. Torum solution to the well problem, great. I am hoping that we'll get to see Malkuth pull out the Leviathan at some point here. That could be fun too. Good times. Looking forward to more.
Any other stars or wishes?
Wish to see what's going to happen when we still have a lot of this incursion to go, and 2 people are already at Ruin 5, so I'm excited to see what happens.
Me too. I'm sure they are as well. All right, well, let's wave goodbye to everybody watching the video.